For the past 2 decades, American luxury has been playing defense. While brands from Stuttgart, Munich, and Ingolstadt set the benchmark for what premium midsize SUVs should be, Lincoln has been quietly, methodically rebuilding itself from the ground up. The 2027 Nautilus isn't just another product refresh. It represents something far more significant, a fundamental rethinking of what American luxury can be when it stops apologizing for not being European and starts celebrating what makes it distinctly, unapologetically itself. Here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody in the automotive press wants to acknowledge. For years, we've measured American luxury vehicles by how closely they mimic their German counterparts. Tighter handling, firmer suspension, more aggressive styling cues. We essentially told American manufacturers to become something they weren't. But what if that was the wrong approach all along? What if the future of luxury isn't about convergence, but about divergence, about offering something genuinely different rather than simply adequate? The 2027 Lincoln Nautilus poses a question that should make every luxury SUV buyer pause and reconsider their assumptions. When did we decide that luxury had to mean sport? When did comfort become a compromise rather than a cornerstone? And more importantly, why are we still judging American luxury vehicles by European standards when the buyers themselves are increasingly looking for something else entirely? Let's begin with what Lincoln has understood that many of its competitors have forgotten. The buyers in this segment, professionals in their peak earning years, aren't looking for another sports sedan pretending to be an SUV. They've already proven themselves. They don't need a vehicle that corners like it's perpetually qualifying for a racing series. What they want, what they've been asking for without anyone listening, is a vehicle that makes the daily commute feel like a first-class flight and turns the weekend road trip into an occasion rather than an ordeal. The exterior design of the Nautilus tells you immediately that Lincoln has made a decision. This isn't timed. The proportions are deliberately horizontal, elongated, creating a sense of planted stability that speaks to confidence rather than aggression. Where many luxury SUVs have become increasingly angular and aggressive in their design language, the Nautilus flows. The signature Lincoln grille has evolved into something more refined, less about making a statement and more about suggesting one. It's the difference between someone who needs to announce their success and someone who simply embodies it. But here's what's genuinely interesting about the design philosophy. Lincoln's designers have studied how luxury is perceived across different markets. In Europe, luxury has traditionally meant precision and performance. In America, it's historically meant space and comfort. In Asia, it often emphasizes technology and status. The Nautilus attempts something ambitious. It synthesizes these perspectives without being beholden to any single one. The result is a vehicle that looks at home on the Autobahn in Manhattan and on the Pacific Coast Highway, which is no small achievement. The lighting signature deserves specific mention because it exemplifies Lincoln's attention to detail. The LED elements aren't just functional, they're theatrical. When you approach the vehicle, the sequential lighting creates a welcoming ceremony that feels personal rather than showy. It's a small thing perhaps, but small things matter enormously in luxury goods. They're the difference between a product that costs more and a product that feels worth more. Now, let's talk about the dimensions, because this is where Lincoln has made some very deliberate choices that separate the Nautilus from its competitors. The wheelbase has been extended by nearly 3 inches compared to the previous generation. That might not sound revolutionary until you understand what those 3 inches enable. They create rear seat space that genuinely rivals what you find in vehicles costing significantly more. For the buyer who frequently has clients, family members, or colleagues in the rear seats, this isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. And it's an area where many European competitors have made compromises in pursuit of sportier proportions. The vehicle sits on 21-inch wheels as standard in the upper trims. But here's what's noteworthy. Lincoln hasn't prioritized wheel size for aesthetics at the expense of ride quality. The tire profile is more generous than what you find on many competitors, which telegraphs immediately what the priorities are here. This is a vehicle engineered for the real world, not the test track. Step inside, and you're confronted with a cabin that makes a very specific argument about what modern luxury should feel like. The first thing you notice isn't the technology. It's the materials. Lincoln has sourced leather from Bridge of Weir in Scotland, the same tannery that supplies some of the world's most prestigious automotive brands. But they've specified it differently. It's softer, more supple, because the Lincoln philosophy prioritizes how things feel over how they look in photographs. There's a notable absence of the hard, sporty leather that many manufacturers use because it photographs well, but feels cold and uninviting in daily use. The wood trim is real, properly finished, and applied in ways that suggest furniture more than automotive decor. Lincoln has moved away from the high-gloss finishes that show every fingerprint and opted instead for matte and satin treatments that feel warmer and more inviting. The open-pore wood trim on the upper tiers isn't trying to look exotic, it's trying to feel authentic. And there's a significant difference between those two objectives. But the most significant decision Lincoln made in the interior concerns the fundamental architecture of the cabin itself. While many manufacturers have moved toward minimalist interiors dominated by screens, the Nautilus takes a more balanced approach. Yes, there's a substantial central display, a panoramic screen that handles navigation, entertainment, and vehicle settings. However, Lincoln has retained physical controls for the most frequently used functions: climate control, volume, drive mode selection. These remain physical buttons and switches. For the target demographic, this isn't a concession to the past. It's a recognition that tactile feedback matters, that muscle memory is valuable, and that not every interaction should require looking at a screen. The seats themselves represent perhaps the most tangible expression of Lincoln's philosophy. They offer 30-way adjustment in the front, which sounds excessive until you spend time finding your optimal position and realize just how personal comfort really is. The massage function isn't the aggressive kneading motion you find in some vehicles. It's subtle, almost therapeutic, with patterns that were developed in consultation with ergonomics experts. The perfect position seats, as Lincoln calls them, can save settings to your phone, meaning the vehicle configures itself to your preferences before you even open the door. Here's something that often goes unnoticed in reviews but matters enormously in daily use. The Nautilus has been engineered for exceptional noise isolation. Lincoln's engineers have used laminated glass throughout, acoustic interlayers in the floor pan, and active noise cancellation that adapts to driving conditions. The result is a cabin that at highway speeds maintains a conversation-level sound pressure that's genuinely remarkable. When you're spending an hour each way in daily commute traffic, or 5 hours driving to that weekend retreat, this matters more than lap times or 0 to 60 sprints. Now let's discuss what's under the hood, because this is where Lincoln has made choices that will prove controversial to some and revelatory to others. The base engine is a turbocharged 2.0-liter 4-cylinder producing just over 250 horsepower. In isolation, those numbers might seem modest. But here's what the specifications don't tell you. This engine has been tuned not for peak power, but for effortless delivery across the entire rev range. The turbocharger is sized to eliminate lag almost entirely, meaning throttle response feels natural rather than artificially boosted. The 8-speed automatic transmission has been calibrated for smoothness over speed, with shift programming that prioritizes keeping the engine in its optimal torque band, rather than chasing maximum efficiency or performance numbers. The available hybrid powertrain is where things become genuinely interesting. Lincoln has developed a system that combines a turbocharged internal combustion engine with an electric motor integrated into the transmission, producing a combined output of just over 300 horsepower. But the real story isn't the power figure. It's how the system has been calibrated. The electric motor fills in the gaps in the power delivery, creating a seamlessness that makes the powertrain feel larger and more refined than its displacement would suggest. The battery is sized not for extensive electric-only range, but for optimizing the driving experience, providing electrical assistance exactly when it's most beneficial. There's also a higher performance variant with a twin turbocharged V6 producing north of 400 horsepower for those who want the additional capability. But here's what's telling about Lincoln's approach. Even in this performance-oriented variant, the suspension tuning, the steering calibration, the entire dynamic setup prioritizes refinement over sportiness. This isn't a vehicle trying to set lap records. It's a vehicle that can dispatch a highway on-ramp with authority while ensuring everyone inside remains comfortable and relaxed. The all-wheel drive system is standard across the range, and it's a sophisticated setup that can apportion torque front to rear and side to side as needed. But unlike some systems that hold back power for dramatic tail-out moments, this one is calibrated primarily for stability and traction. It's the kind of engineering that you don't notice when it's working, which is exactly the point. The average buyer doesn't want to think about their all-wheel drive system. They just want to know that when conditions deteriorate, the vehicle will handle it without drama or intervention. The suspension deserves extended discussion because it's here that Lincoln's philosophy becomes most evident. The Nautilus uses an adaptive system with continuously variable damping. But rather than offering sport and comfort modes with dramatic differences between them, Lincoln has created a system that's fundamentally oriented toward comfort, with the adaptive element working to maintain that comfort across varying road conditions. Hit an expansion joint at speed, and the suspension soaks it up with minimal intrusion into the cabin. Navigate a sweeping highway curve, and there's sufficient body control to maintain composure without any harshness or artificial stiffness. The steering is hydraulically assisted rather than fully electric, which is increasingly rare in this class. Lincoln made this choice deliberately because hydraulic systems provide more natural feedback and a more organic connection to the road. It's not heavy. It's not artificially weighted. It's simply natural, requiring appropriate effort that gives you confidence in placement without being tiring in extended driving. Technology integration in the Nautilus reflects a mature understanding of what technology should accomplish in a luxury vehicle. The infotainment system, built on the latest SVNC platform, is responsive and intuitive, with a learning algorithm that adapts to your usage patterns over time. The voice recognition system actually works, understanding natural language commands without requiring specific phrasing or multiple attempts. For a demographic that's seen countless half-baked voice recognition systems over the years, this competence is refreshing rather than revolutionary. The driver assistance features represent the current state of the art without overselling their capabilities. Adaptive cruise control maintains smooth following distances. Lane centering keeps you properly positioned without constant corrections. The system can handle extended highway driving with minimal intervention. But Lincoln isn't marketing this as autonomous driving or making promises about capabilities that don't yet exist. For experienced drivers who remember when cars required actual driving, this honest approach builds trust rather than undermining it. But there's a feature that exemplifies Lincoln's understanding of their customer base. Active Glide, as they call it, is a hands-free highway driving system that works on pre-mapped divided highways. What's different is how it's been implemented. The system uses a driver-facing camera to ensure attention, but it's been calibrated to be less intrusive than some competitors' systems. It recognizes that monitoring attention doesn't require constant nagging, and it trusts drivers to behave responsibly without treating them like children. The sound system deserves specific attention. Lincoln has partnered with Revel, a high-end audio brand, to create a 28-speaker system that's been precisely tuned to the Nautilus's cabin acoustics. This isn't about raw wattage or impressive specifications. It's about accurate reproduction and spatial imaging. Classical music, which a significant portion of this demographic appreciates, sounds as it should with proper instrument separation and tonal accuracy. The system can adapt its output based on occupancy and listening position, ensuring optimal sound quality, regardless of where passengers are seated. Now let's address the question that's on everyone's mind. How does the 2027 Nautilus position itself in a market dominated by established European players? Lincoln has made a calculation that's either brilliant or risky, depending on your perspective. Rather than trying to beat the Germans at their own game, Lincoln is changing the game entirely. They're betting that a significant segment of luxury buyers is tired of vehicles that prioritize performance metrics over daily usability, that value comfort over cornering prowess, and that want technology that enhances the experience rather than complicating it. The pricing strategy reinforces this positioning. A well-equipped Nautilus comes in at approximately $10,000 to $15,000 less than a comparably equipped vehicle from Munich or Stuttgart. But here's the crucial element. Lincoln isn't positioning this as a value play. They're not suggesting you settle for the Nautilus because you can't afford the alternative. Instead, they're arguing that you should choose the Nautilus because it's actually better suited to how you'll use the vehicle. It's a subtle but important distinction. This brings us to a broader question about the evolution of American luxury. For too long, American luxury brands have been apologizing for not being European. They've tried to emulate German engineering philosophy, Scandinavian minimalism, British heritage. The Nautilus represents Lincoln's decision to stop apologizing and start celebrating what American luxury can uniquely offer. Generous space, exceptional comfort, intuitive technology, and a fundamental orientation toward making life easier rather than more engaging. There's a historical precedent worth considering. In the 1950s and 60s, American luxury cars were aspirational worldwide, not because they tried to be European, but because they were unapologetically American. They prioritized different things: automation over involvement, comfort over sport, space over efficiency. That approach fell out of favor as priorities shifted and fuel prices rose. But we're entering an era where many of those original priorities are becoming relevant again. As vehicles become increasingly electrified and autonomous, the traditional performance metrics that define luxury become less important. What matters more is the quality of the time you spend in the vehicle. The Nautilus also reflects a more sophisticated understanding of global luxury markets. While the vehicle is designed and engineered in America, Lincoln's team has considered how luxury is perceived in the markets where this vehicle will be sold. The Chinese market, which has become crucial for luxury brands, values rear seat space and ride comfort over handling dynamics. The Middle Eastern market appreciates robust climate control and sun protection. European buyers increasingly value technology integration and efficiency. The Nautilus attempts to address these very priorities without being compromised by any single one. Consider for a moment the typical use case for a luxury midsize SUV. It's the daily commute, often solo. It's the weekend errands with family. It's the occasional longer trip to visit relatives or explore new places. It's client meetings where you want to project success without ostentation. It's the school run, the airport transfer, the dinner reservation across town. In none of these scenarios is a 0 to 60 time under 5 seconds actually useful. In all of these scenarios, comfort, quietness, ease of use, and confidence-inspiring capability matter enormously. Lincoln has also made intelligent decisions about packaging and trim levels. Rather than offering dozens of configurations with minute differences, they've created a more focused lineup with substantial differentiation between tiers. The base model is genuinely well-equipped, avoiding the stripped-out feel that some manufacturers use to hit lower price points. The mid-tier offers the features most buyers actually want, without forcing them into the top tier for essentials. And the top tier provides genuine luxury touches, materials, and features that justify the additional investment. There's a particular intelligence in how Lincoln has handled the inevitable comparisons to European competitors. Rather than ignoring them or being defensive, Lincoln has acknowledged them directly in their marketing. They're confident enough to say this is different, and different is exactly what some buyers have been waiting for. That confidence is earned through execution. Every element of the Nautilus, from the way the doors close to how the climate control responds, has been calibrated to deliver on the promise of a different kind of luxury. The environmental considerations are worth addressing because they're increasingly important to this buyer demographic. These are individuals who've built successful careers, raised families, and are now thinking seriously about legacy and impact. The hybrid powertrain offers meaningfully improved efficiency without requiring behavioral changes or compromises. The materials used in the interior increasingly include recycled and sustainable sources, but Lincoln presents this as quality improvement rather than environmental virtue signaling. The efficiency gains from the aerodynamic refinements and powertrain optimization are real and measurable. One aspect that's often overlooked at vehicle reviews, but matters enormously to owners, is the ownership experience beyond the vehicle itself. Lincoln has invested heavily in customer service, creating a concierge approach that matches the luxury positioning. Pickup and delivery for service, mobile service for minor issues, and a dedicated relationship manager for upper-tier buyers. These aren't revolutionary concepts, but they're executed with a level of genuine care that's increasingly rare. For someone who values their time, having someone come to their home or office to handle vehicle service isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. The warranty coverage is comprehensive, reflecting Lincoln's confidence in the product. 4 years or 50,000 miles of basic coverage, 6 years or 70,000 miles of powertrain coverage, and significantly, complimentary maintenance for the first 4 years or 50,000 miles. That last element removes one of the hidden costs of luxury vehicle ownership and eliminates the nickel and diming that some brands engage in. So what does the 2027 Lincoln Nautilus ultimately represent? It's a statement that American luxury has evolved beyond trying to be European luxury with a different badge. It's a recognition that luxury itself is evolving, that the priorities of buyers are changing, and that there's room in the market for approaches that prioritize different virtues. It's a bet that a meaningful segment of buyers is ready for something that makes their daily lives better rather than their weekend track days faster. The vehicle isn't perfect. No vehicle is. The infotainment system, while good, isn't as intuitive as the very best in the industry. Some of the interior plastics and lower touchpoints don't quite match the premium feel elsewhere. The fuel economy, while improved, isn't class-leading. But these are quibbles in the context of what Lincoln has achieved here. What Lincoln has created is a luxury SUV that knows exactly what it wants to be and executes that vision with conviction. It's not trying to be all things to all people. It's not making compromises to chase performance metrics that don't matter in real-world use. It's focused, confident, and mature in a way that should resonate deeply with its target audience. For the buyer considering this vehicle, the question isn't whether the Nautilus can match a German competitor in a slalom test or a drag race. Those aren't relevant questions for how this vehicle will actually be used. The relevant questions are different. Will this vehicle make your daily commute more pleasant? Will it handle the family road trip with grace and comfort? Will it project the right image in the country club parking lot or the client meeting? Will it reward you for choosing it every time you close the door and settle into those perfect seats? The answer to those questions, based on what Lincoln has engineered into this vehicle, appears to be yes. And that's what makes the 2027 Nautilus significant. It's not just another entry in a crowded segment. It's a reframing of what that segment can offer. It's Lincoln declaring that American luxury doesn't need to apologize or explain itself anymore. It can simply be what it is, excellent on its own terms, confident in its choices, and ready for buyers who want something genuinely different rather than adequately similar. The luxury automotive market is evolving rapidly. Electrification is coming. Autonomous driving capabilities are improving. Connectivity is becoming expected rather than optional. In this changing landscape, the brands that will thrive aren't necessarily those with the longest heritage or the strongest performance credentials. They're the brands that understand what luxury should mean in this new era and execute that vision with authenticity and skill. Lincoln's transformation over the past decade, culminating in vehicles like the 2027 Nautilus, suggests they've not only understood this shift, but positioned themselves to lead it. That's worth paying attention to, regardless of which badge you've historically preferred. The traditional hierarchy of luxury has always been clear, hasn't it? German engineering at the top, British craftsmanship for those with historical sensibilities, Italian passion for the romantics, and American luxury somewhere below, perpetually trying to catch up. Except that hierarchy was never based on what luxury vehicles actually need to do well. It was based on what we decided luxury should mean, and for the last 30 years, that definition has been remarkably narrow. The 2027 Lincoln Nautilus arrives at a moment when that narrow definition is finally being questioned, and it does so with a level of confidence that suggests Lincoln has stopped listening to the critics and started listening to the customers instead. Here's what nobody wants to admit in the automotive press. We've been measuring the wrong things. We've celebrated firm suspensions and aggressive handling as if every luxury SUV buyer is secretly yearning for track days. We've praised minimalist interiors stripped of physical controls as if complication somehow equaled sophistication. We champion 0 to 60 times as if they matter when you're sitting in traffic on the M25 or crawling through Los Angeles at rush hour.